The next show is planned for April 9th, 2022. It's about 29 weeks to bring something really special to the stage. I'm very confident that that's going to happen.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you can see, again, our morning walk-in. I'm solo this morning because Carrie's got to study for an exam. She's been up since like 5 o'clock getting her study on. But anyways, where do I start? This past weekend we competed again, so that was the third show of the season. It was the CPA Fedel Clarke Classic, and unfortunately I couldn't get any footage from the show, but I got plenty of photos, which you guys saw kind of a little bit of a slideshow at the beginning of the video here. But results-wise, man, couldn't be happier. So going into this show, being a natural athlete, my expectations were pretty wide open. For those that don't know, the CPA hosts both natural and untested events. And this show was an untested event itself, which I knew going into it, and people are like, oh, that's not fair, like blah blah. And it's totally fair, because I'm going into it knowing that I'm against athletes that are enhanced. Where the problems can arise is when you are an enhanced athlete and you're trying to sneak your way into natural shows. Good morning. And that's not cool. So for myself, I went into this show with really one goal, and that was to win the lightweight class. I thought that was very realistic for myself with my shape, my structure, the conditioning we were going to bring, and I really thought I was going to be able to make it happen. And to say I exceeded those expectations would be a pretty big understatement. We ended up winning the lightweight class. We won my classic physique open class, and then ended up winning the classic physique overall, which was pretty damn cool, not gonna lie. I'll put some photos on screen maybe right now, if I remember to, of the overall, and I'm really happy. Genuinely did not expect it at all. The big guy in the overall, he was, I think, around 100 pounds heavier than me, which is pretty insane. To beat a big natural athlete in the overall, a big natural guy is going to be 170, 180. I can do that. But to beat someone that had basically 100 pounds of just weight on me, that's pretty damn cool. So yeah, definitely right up there with the highlight of the season so far. And yeah, so right now we are on a bit of a kind of a recharge phase, I guess you could say, because my next show is 2 weeks, whereas the last 3 weeks in a row we've had show, so we haven't really had any downtime, because right when the first show's done, it's peak week, and then boom, peak week and peak week. Whereas now we kind of have a week of a break, I guess you could say. So after the show, I did get a quote unquote free meal, which was nice. Kirk's about to go charge the rabbit. No, don't go bug the rabbits. So Carrie and I went out. We had a nice burger, had some freedom, within reason, obviously, but a little bit of freedom, which was nice. And then Sunday we did a refeed day, and then this week we're running a bit higher macros, just a bit more carbs. If I remember correctly, my macros are 220 protein, 200 carb, and I think 70 fat. So fats are up a little bit as well. I think that puts calories around 2,300 if I remember correctly. And I feel good. I feel really good. My weight is stable, hanging around 156 right now, which is great. And then we're going to go into next week ready to do the rapid backload again, because that was by far the best look I brought to the stage, and we're gonna do it again for the next show. Anyways, I'm gonna continue on the walk. We are almost 5 minutes here. I've been talking to you guys, so this guy's gonna finish his morning steps. I'm gonna finish my morning steps. Got my pre-workout on hand. So before we address the main subject matter of this video, with regards to classic physique, I think there might be some clarity needed for those that are, maybe new to bodybuilding or just want a bit better insight into the division itself and how it's kind of different from bodybuilding. So classic physique was brought in, I think, 2016 within the NPC, and then natural federations now are starting to bring it in with the OCB, the IPE. I think there's a couple other federations that have adopted it as well, and it's really grown in popularity. People really dig the look. Obviously, Mr. Chris Bumstead's been a big catalyst in the popularity of it, and I think just from like a general population standpoint, I think someone could look at a physique like Chris versus like someone like Big Ramy and be like, that's a better look. That looks healthier, that looks a little bit more realistic, more attainable, more aesthetic, versus more of the mass monster side of the bodybuilding division. And with the difference between the two, because I think, for some people, they can argue that there's, really no difference, especially in the natural stream. You could argue that there might not be as much of a need for it, but classic physique, it's judged very similar to bodybuilding. You still gotta consider shape, structure, symmetry, size, proportion, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to classic itself, there seems to be a lot more emphasis on kind of two main variables. One is posing. The classic division, they really seem to favor the emphasis on posing and the flow of your posing and how you transition from pose to pose. And then when it comes to like judging the physique itself, there's a certain like flow and structure. It's hard to explain. You know it when you see it, but like someone with really broad shoulders, a big flaring rib cage into a small waist, it's meant to represent the physiques of old, right? So like Arnold Schwarzenegger's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a timeline era. That's what I'm looking for. Arnold's era, and those physiques. When you look at them compared to many of the physiques in bodybuilding nowadays, especially like open bodybuilding, there's a very different look, and classic is trying to go back to that, right? So you look at Mr. Olympia, Chris Bumstead, you look at Terrence Ruffin, Logan Franklin, these guys all have a similar structure, which differs from open bodybuilding, and you combine that with the effort they're putting into posing, and it's a different division. It really has kind of now separated itself and come into a place of its own, which is awesome, and it continues to grow in popularity, and I think it's bringing more people into the sport, which is obviously a very positive thing. Another muscle group that I think to accompany those I'm just missing words today, those stature features, the broad shoulders, the flaring rib cage, a good set of arms was a commonality back in the day. These guys, you look at guys like Arnold and Sergio Oliva, like they had these massive arms, and that's something that I think when you see a really good classic physique athlete, they got a nice set of arms on them. So with that being said, let's go get some arms done.
When it comes to posing for classic physique, one thing that people need to really consider is not just one pose at a time, but how you transition from pose to pose. In bodybuilding, especially nowadays when posing's not nearly as paid attention to, or seemingly put effort into. You see guys during their posing routine, they're just walking around on stage, hit a pose, walk over here, hit a pose, walk over here, most muscular, music in the background, no real structure or flow to it. In classic, one thing that I really pay attention to is the music and my song choice and how I can flow with that and make things smooth and seamless, right? If you're going from a front double bicep and you want to go to a side chest, don't just drop your arms, turn and hit a side chest. You're here, right? Swoop those arms down, maybe hit this guy, then pull in for that side chest. Same for back poses, right? If you're hitting a back double, let those arms fall out to the side as you transition versus just dropping and turning into it. So classic physique, if you're gonna do that, you've got the structure, you've got the physique for it. Don't butcher your posing, because as much as the physique matters in classic physique, posing matters maybe just as much.
Ain't got shit on me.
Okay, let's address the subject matter of the video, and that's if I will be switching my focus to classic physique over open bodybuilding. Now, I've done classic before. I did classic in 2019. That was my first kind of dab at it at the Coburg Naturals, and I did well. I took first in my class, didn't take the overall at that event, but it was kind of a taste of, potentially looking at that division. For myself, I have the structure for it. I have the, like we talked about earlier, the flaring rib cage, relatively broad shoulders down to a small waist, and, just continuing to refine my physique over time has just continued to add to that frame and add to that classic look. So this year I competed in my first show. I did both classic and bodybuilding, and I won both. And then I just did classic physique again at the Fedel Clarke Classic, won my class, won the overall, and got a lot of positive feedback from not only judges but other promoters, other athletes, photographers, tanners, basically saying that you have a future in this division if you really want to pursue it. So obviously that would get the wheels spinning of maybe I do have a future in classic physique, potentially more so than open bodybuilding. Now, mind you, I still do well in bodybuilding. I, very, very infrequently don't do well in bodybuilding. I mean, we're undefeated this year so far in every class that I've done. So to say that going from classic physique, going to classic physique from bodybuilding would be a massive change in potential placings and stuff, it is not accurate, because I still do well, in both divisions. But with the continued rise of classic physique and the popularity of it, looking at it from, outside of an athlete perspective, from a branding, marketing, sponsorship, these kind of things start to kind of spin in your head of, okay, what could take me further from that, lens, right? So, I'm not going to ever, right now say that yes, I am switching to classic physique full time, but if the opportunities are there to do that division at a show I choose to do, then I will 100% take it. And over the years, it's only going to continue to rise in popularity, and potential shows and pro shows, amateur shows,
big, world championships and stuff like that potentially offer that division. And over time, as my physique continues to evolve, it may be where I end up going, right? If it's gonna benefit me both from an athlete perspective, but also like a business, a branding, a sponsorship perspective, then those are things that need to be taken into consideration, along with obviously my competitive goals. So yeah, I just wanted to address it because I have been asked quite a bit since the weekend, where I did very well in classic physique. And obviously looking at my physique in the photos that I'm getting, I can look at it and say like, yeah, like there's definitely potential there for sure. And don't get me wrong, I love the look, I really do. In the open stream, I really look at guys like Chris Bumstead, Terrence Ruffin, and other classic physique guys and admire those physiques a little bit more so than the open bodybuilding, right? I really do. I can appreciate what the open guys have built, but for me, that's not a look I aspire to. In natural bodybuilding, there's the natural guys that I look at and can aspire to be like, but in the open stream, it's definitely more classic physique that draws my attention for sure. And funny enough, just before recording this, I actually had a client message me off one of my stories and said that they much prefer watching classic physique, both from a physique perspective, but also the efforts they put into posing, which we talked about earlier. So it definitely has its place and is continuing to grow, and it might be something that I look at more seriously when I return to the stage when this season is done. So yeah, just wanted to address that in this week's video, guys. And it's crazy that this is episode 60 of Operation 2022, and we're coming to a close of this series pretty quick as we get ready to close out the season here and over the next few weeks. So I really appreciate you guys' support through this whole process. And if you guys like this video, obviously give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to stay up to date with all things natural bodybuilding on Natty News Daily Instagram. And don't forget to join the member site for exclusive content, both for myself and numerous other sources coming up in the future. That's nattynewsdaily.com. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.